Hey folks, right before the episode starts, I've got a couple of little updates that are a bit time sensitive. If you're listening on the day this episode drops, which is the 27th of May, first off, you should take our Glitterjaw listener survey. I'm sure if you've listened to any Glitterjaw shows over this last month, you've already heard like an ad read of some kind before, but the survey does close on May 31st. We do have an option for you to enter your email if you would like to be entered to win a $50 gift card, which is pretty cool. But even if you're not interested in that, it would be really helpful for us to hear your feedback. We would love to hear your thoughts on the shows that we produce, but also your podcast listening habits, just because it's going to help us with how we produce our shows. And also it'll help us plan better for Glitterjaw in the future to know what kind of stuff you all are looking for from us as a collective. So go to bit.ly/Glitterjaw pod survey to share your feedback. It's a real quick survey. It doesn't take that long. You've also got a link in the show notes for that. Also, the other thing that's happening around May 31st-ish is this coming weekend, Doug and I are going to be at Kaiju Brooklyn. We're just hanging out, so you don't have to look for any events or panels or whatever we're on. We're literally just there for the weekend. It's a really fun con. I think Doug and I talk about it at the end of this episode, but like in case you don't listen to the end, this is your call out to come look for us, or if you're just in the New York or Brooklyn area, head to the con. It's a really cool con. It's really fun. I went there last year. It's really small, but packed with goodness and good people and in a really cool location. So I would highly recommend checking out that con and tracking us down if you can. Now, enjoy the episode. It's Screonk, a Godzilla movie marathon where we're stomping through Godzilla's filmography. I'm Derek, and I've seen all the Godzilla movies.
And I'm Doug, and I've seen 34 Godzilla movies and maybe 4 Mechagodzilla movies. I should have counted that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And we're talking about the 14th film in the Godzilla franchise and the original introduction of Godzilla's robot counterpart, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, also known as Gojira Tai Mecha in Japan, obviously, as well as Godzilla versus the Bionic Monster in the US initially, and then Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster, which was named in the UK and then eventually named in the US as well. Yeah. Released in Japan on March 21st, 1974, directed by Jun Fukuda, written by Shinichi Sekizawa and Masami Fukushima, special effects by Teruyoshi Nakano, produced by Tomoyuki Tanaka, and a score by Masaru Sato. And of course, we'd like to take a quick moment to thank our spectacular patrons, Bo, Carl, Katie, Jason, Zoe, James, Keith, Cody, Toby, Hamish, Chase, Joe, David W., David A., Russ, Christian, Reed, Ben, Stuart, Will, Marilee, Robbie, Tyler, and Preston.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, before we get into Mechagodzilla, because we're going to have lots to say about this one, we do have a guest. With us today, we have the author of Monster Kids, How Pokemon Taught a Generation to Catch Them All, the upcoming I Am the Night, the ultimate unauthorized history of Batman, the animated series, and the just-announced upcoming book, Life Finds a Way, which is about Jurassic Park, which feels very relevant to people listening, probably. Daniel Dockery, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate you having me on here. I love talking about Godzilla. He's one of my favorite dudes. So anytime I can get the chance to discuss the King of the Monsters, I take it.
Yeah. What's your background with Godzilla? How did you get into him?
Oh my. My background is okay. So I was a dinosaur kid, or a monster kid. Anything that was like a big outsized creature, I was into it. And Godzilla, I got into about this. Like I would loved kaiju. I regard like even my earliest interest. Thomas the Tank Engine is a kaiju, and he goes around it's tokusatsu. He goes around little miniature moviescapes, and
That's
and
he has
point. All the trains have like weird pathos to them. It's absolutely it's absolute tokusatsu. But I got into Godzilla just kind of like the concept of it. And I remember getting the Good Times video VHSs of
Hmm.
Godzilla, which was like Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster, um, and a few others. And I ripped through those. And I think Godzilla stood out because he was the first film subject where I could kind of see how like behind the scenes worked, how a series can change over the years. I think
Yeah.
if anyone wants to learn about like film, but especially about special effects, but about film, watch a Godzilla movie because so much, especially the early Godzilla movies, because so much of it is on the screen, so much of the magic of it, and depending on how much you watch it, you can see like the little tricks used and uh the little maneuvers by these dedicated craftsmen at Toho that they implemented to kind of bring this giant monster and his brethren to life on a scale, that outdid most of the Hollywood movies at the time, even if they had, a minuscule ratio of the budget.
Hmm.
So I really fell in love with Godzilla, and it started as like a big monster love, and then I read the book by Steve Reifel, Godzilla, or Japan's Biggest Monster,
Hmm.
and it became like a film love, and now it's a little bit of both. Like now I'm kind of like I kind of let my freak flag fly with Godzilla a little bit, but I'm also like a historian. So it's really again, he's one of my favorite dudes, and I think is a testament to cinema's ability to like tackle real world events, but also like tackle
Yeah.
dreams. And it's very rare that you get something that so comfortably goes hand in hand and has is the center of both of those pieces of the Venn diagram. So yeah, I've loved Godzilla for as long as I've loved movies. I've loved Godzilla.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, yeah. Important piece of movie history, man. I
It
totally
is
feel ya. Totally feel ya. Do you have a particular attachment to Mechagodzilla specifically?
absolutely okay. So
You
I
just lit up.
I love first of all, I think big robot. I wrote a book about Pokemon, but I'm a Digimon fan as well.
Hell
And
yes.
any like they have so many like robot dinosaurs or like half
Hmm.
dinosaur, half robot stuff, and I
Yeah.
I love robot dinosaurs. I adore them. Whether they're like animatronics, I remember going to this local science place called Cyworks, and like I knew there weren't real dinosaurs, but there was like like the whir of the internal animatronic as they moved and stuff. And I was just fixated by that. And then Mechagodzilla shows up, and Mechagodzilla is always he's kind of second place, and Godzilla's like pure antagonist. Like it's
Sure.
obviously King Ghidorah first, and then you can kind of fudge in Mothra, but Mothra's a good guy and
Yeah.
a Godzilla, naysayer. But then Mechagodzilla is a pretty firmly second, and I just kind of fell in love with this creature that has all of these like special powers and is shaped like a dinosaur, so obviously that's cool. But yeah, I really like Mechagodzilla, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this episode. Is because Mechagodzilla's first appearance is wild.
Yeah.
There is so much going on, both in Mechagodzilla and in terms of like what the film does with like Godzilla and
Yeah.
stuff. So I really love yeah, I love Mechagodzilla as well. I don't, like maybe my second favorite Godzilla character after Godzilla himself. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, I really like Mechagodzilla.
Perfect. Well, glad we have you on for this thing. Yeah, Doug, you finally have met the original Mechagodzilla. That is
Yeah.
the one oddity of the way we did this podcast, because we didn't do things fully chronologically. We were chronologically within the Godzilla eras, but we did often kind of jump around. And at 99% of the time, it worked out great where you'd meet original Mothra, then like Heisei Mothra and a Millennium Mothra, for example, and King Ghidorah the same way. Mechagodzilla, we just, because he shows up at the very end of the Showa era, we just couldn't make it work out where we could have you meet Mechagodzilla, the original one, first before the other ones. So you've seen three different Mechagodzillas.
Hmm.
And then finally you're getting back to the original one. So what are your feelings getting back here finally?
Yeah, I think that it seems weird to have done that. I mean, it was circumstantial because of how late in the game he's introduced in a long era, but I actually think I once again kind of benefit from the oddity of it, because seeing the other Mechagodzillas first, I'm expecting something way more conventional as to how Mechagodzilla shows up. So you're right, like how they treat Mechagodzilla in this and how they treat Godzilla, there's kind of a mystery at the beginning of this movie that I just was not expecting, and there's no way I could have predicted how Mechagodzilla emerges onto the screen in this movie. So it's kind of fun that I got the more conventional versions first and then got kind of maybe the weirdest one, unless, you know, Bones Godzilla is considered your weirdest one. But I think this is maybe the weirdest way to have it emerge.
You didn't clock the ape aliens creating on there?
No.
Yeah. Great. Well, let's start talking about this movie specifically. The background on this, there's kind of two origin points, I think, for this movie. The first one's obvious. It was the 20th anniversary, and they had already had ideas for both a Godzilla versus Godzilla fight and some sort of mechanical Godzilla, right? Like, those two ideas had been floating around. They had done Mechani-Kong with Kong since back in 1967. Like, obviously, they saw that happen. Like, we could do that with Godzilla too, and it just hadn't happened yet. So the 20th anniversary seemed like a good way to make both of those ideas sort of happen. The idea, I think, for this version of Mechagodzilla is attributed mostly to Masami Fukushima, who's a very prolific sci-fi writer. He was the first chief editor of the SF magazine, considered to have like really helped popularize science fiction in Japan specifically. He's known for like really like abrasive art criticism and like very much like, no, this is serious business, you guys listen to me. Like, he has the nickname Demon of Sci-Fi, like
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, he's come up before on our Patreon because he did the story treatment for Matango as well, so I think he was already in Toho's sightlines. So get a sci-fi writer to do your big science fiction robot Godzilla story, right?
Yeah.
The other, I think, origin point, interestingly, that I think is harder to predict is Okinawa is a big part of this and what's happening historically and politically with that, with Okinawa Island specifically. So the Okinawa prefecture is like more than 60 islands, but Okinawa Island is like the largest one. That's the sort of big anchor for it. And the broadest history lesson for this, I'm not an expert on this type of stuff, but it's important for this movie because for hundreds of years, Okinawa Island was ruled by the independent Ryukyu Kingdom, which wasn't officially annexed into Japan until 1879. So Okinawa has a long history of like distinct indigenous people, distinct language, distinct culture from mainland Japan. And then only about 60 years after it became part of Japan, that's when World War II, of course, happens and Japan is occupied by the US. So there's already some weirdness there because it's a very distinct culture from mainland Japan, and now US is occupying it. And also, unlike mainland Japan, US doesn't leave or doesn't officially hand over the rule of Okinawa back to Japan until 1972.
What?
Yeah. So it's a really, it is, and still to this day is like a really important strategic place for military operations. Unfortunately, like it is to this day, it's like played, US bases in Okinawa have continued to play big roles in like the Iraq war and Afghanistan and stuff like that. Like, it is an important place. So I think that's why it was hard for them to let control go. Doesn't happen until 1972. And also there's a lot of like controversy because a lot of the US military caused a lot of damage to the environment. And there's like oil and fuel spills. There's like famous nerve gas leaks, murders, aircraft crashes, a lot of really heinous stuff throughout history. So like it is a really big deal when Japan basically is given control over Okinawa again. So when they're making this movie, there's a plan for this big celebratory World's Fair known as Expo 75. Which is mentioned in this movie. So this movie kind of takes place in Okinawa during the planning of that World's Fair, which is celebrating the sort of reclamation of this major part of Japan's history, while also acknowledging how it has a really distinct, unique culture from Japan. Right. So that's why this movie is like all Okinawa all the time, you know?
Yeah. That's fascinating context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's also the reason they avoid any like military showing up, because it is, I think, a little bit noticeable that no military pops up to fight Mechagodzilla when he's rampaging. It's very intentional just to avoid any thoughts of like there being a political statement, because whether it's the US military or Japanese military, people are going to take it as being a political statement of some kind, so they kind of just avoid that completely. Other than like referencing general conflict with mainlanders, there's just like none of that here, which I just think is really interesting when you know that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Once those two ideas are sort of merged, Okinawa and Mechagodzilla, that's when, you know, we get the initial version of this is a initial story by Sekizawa that's entitled Great Showdown, Giant Monsters Assemble at Cape Zampa, which is a place in Okinawa. That was going to use the same aliens, the nebula aliens from Godzilla versus Gigan returning, going to colonize Earth and then like flip it and sell the real estate, basically was the plan. The original Mechagodzilla version was a mechanical monster named Gargan. It's basically just, you know, what Mechagodzilla would eventually be. In this version, it's Godzilla, Mothra, and Anguirus teaming up against the aliens in Mechagodzilla. The second draft is when they change the aliens to being simian aliens. It becomes a tag team between Mechagodzilla and Gigan versus Godzilla and a golden scale deity from Okinawan mythology. It was always going to be like based on a Shisha, which is from Okinawan folklore. That's a real thing. It is derived from like Chinese guardian lions, but it became their own sort of mythology over time. And you know, it's essentially what it is in this movie, where they're kind of like a ward that protects homes from evil. They are a cross between a lion and a dog, so that's how you get this kaiju. Originally, it was going to be like King Baragon, Vulcan, or Balgon, depending on where you look, but eventually they land on what becomes King Shisha, just like the name, and then when it's Romanized to America, it's King Caesar.
I had no idea. That just kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah,
but it makes so much sense.
This is all real life. This whole movie is just based on a true story, you know. Yeah. And there is, I think a kind of noticeably like larger budget for this one than Megalon was. It's not significantly bigger, but Megalon was estimated at being at 30 mil. This one is estimated being closer to 100 mil, which is more than that, but still not super high for what they're doing. And a lot of what they ended up doing to save costs was using miniature sets from a Toho disaster movie called Submersion of Japan earlier that year. So that's how they're still able to get some big city sets when Mechagodzilla is rampaging and stuff without having to like spend a ton of money. But yeah. I mean, that's really the basis for the background of this movie that I have. I think the Okinawa stuff is really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. Considering the monster introduced here, that is like a critical piece of how things go down, is rooted so deeply in Okinawan culture.
Yeah, and it introduces a really, I think, unique theme of like like futuristic technology versus like ancient legend, you know? Yeah. Well, yeah, let's talk about the monsters in this movie. Godzilla, I'll just throw him out real quick because there's not much to say. It's the same suit that we normally get. He's portrayed by Sao Zushi, where if you listened to the Zone Fighter episode we did on our Patreon, he was one of the actors to play Godzilla in that TV show first. And then he gets to be Godzilla in this movie. Daniel, I'm curious your relationship with Godzilla in terms of like how the character is portrayed, because obviously evolves over time. By this point, he's just a straight up superhero. How do you feel about how Godzilla is portrayed like by this point in this movie?
You know, I think I like this. I like this Godzilla a lot because he's definitely superhuman, and all of it. He's in big, you know, all of his movements are in like big, grand, like sumo mode.
Yeah.
But he's not quite as humanized as he was, like in like the late Showa and like early Showa, where he's not quite like the general monster. Even though him and King Caesar like bond pretty quickly. But I really like how big he is and everything. I like his I like the suit performers kind of like swaying and moving, and there's a lot of Godzilla doing this in this movie. If this is just audio only, there's a lot of him like tilting back, and it's a very vibrant Godzilla in suit performance. I don't know. I like it a lot. I think it's really varied. I think it lends something that's a little bit more intricate than like whether he's like a good Godzilla or a bad Godzilla in this one.
Right.
He feels almost like a old pro wrestler coming back into like the modern era, and his like he's just everyone's like, oh, one more match. And he's like, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of I like this Godzilla, and especially because I like him compared to like Mechagodzilla, especially Godzilla Suit Mechagodzilla, which is like this cold kind of merchandisey looking Godzilla.
Uh-huh.
Um and I'm sure you'll explain where that suit originated from later, but I really like the dynamic of you have Mechagodzilla whose movements are obviously very mechanical compared to this Godzilla, which is all like outstretched arms and leans and rolls and big gestures. I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
cool.
I like that. I like you making the distinction of like an old retired wrestler coming back, because I do think that that makes a lot of sense, especially like you compare him to how he was performed in like Gigan and Megalon, where I think he's a little more like energetic and active, you know?
Yeah.
And this one, it's like, it's not that I mean, he does kind of move slower in this than I think he has in the past couple of movies, but they're just, yeah, big and sort of theatrical. And especially, we'll talk about King Caesar, but like that motherfucker is just like jumping all over the place. And you have Godzilla who's like not at all. And so you kind of get this interesting contrast of like I mean, even though I know King Caesar is supposed to be like ancient, he kind of feels like the young, scrappy,
Yeah.
literal underdog fighter, and Godzilla's like the big mentor type one,
It's interesting because this is like um one of the first Godzilla bad guys since kind of the puppeteering heyday of like the mid to late 60s
Mhm.
that Godzilla can't really wrestle with. And so he's kind of he kind of has to perform on his own.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
goes hand to hand with Mechagodzilla a few times, but for the most part, like he's just trying to like survive, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, he
No,
doesn't.
that's
He's
true.
kind of left to gesticulate off in the distance because
Like,
he would look stupid like throwing fists with him.
Yeah.
right. Like, it's not like he can like pick up Mechagodzilla and like slam him like he's done
Right.
with like Gigan or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this idea of the sort of like older wrestler in his tag team era being like paired with younger, like new hotness type wrestlers. There's something really fun about that idea. And I like Godzilla in general in this sort of like tag team era. I think it's such a fun way to approach these movies because we've had now a few of them in a row that are sort of these like tag team matches, which is a really fun dynamic.
Yeah. 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 Oh, I agree. I agree. I like him in this movie. The other returning monster, Doug.
My boy, first on screen.
Yeah. Yeah. The star of this movie, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
He was portrayed by Kenichi Kasumi. Kenichi Kasumi plays Anguirus and King Caesar in this movie because they're never on screen at the same time. He was an occasional suit actor for like toku shows like Mirror Man and Red Man and stuff like that. He's not super major roles, just usually like kaiju and monsters and stuff like that. But he retired from suit acting pretty soon after this and ended up becoming a very popular adult film actor, actually.
Oh.
He's like, yeah, like specifically in a lot of like what they call pink films in Japan, which are kind of like, they're like soft core movies. So they
Sure.
can sometimes just be like erotic thrillers, like what Basic Instinct is here.
Sure.
So it's not necessarily like hardcore porn, but everything that he was known to do would be like erotic stuff, interestingly.
That's still wild because that's in
yeah.
all of the movies we've covered. That has never been
Never come
anybody's
up.
journey.
It's never been.
That's a
And he's
first.
like way more famous as in that career than he ever has been doing
Wow.
like toku stuff.
Huh.
Fascinating, right? Yeah. Like kind of, I think like prolific in that space. Weirdly.
Wow.
I don't. Yeah, that's totally shocked me. What an odd trajectory. Yeah, but I mean, he's also on his knees here as Anguirus, and this is the same suit they've used to destroy all monsters. They refurbished it or whatever lately, but apparently, Kasumi has said that like the suit by this point was so badly rotted that
Oh.
like it was actually like sticky on the inside and falling apart. They had to
Ooh.
use like a baby powder to like allow him to
Yeah.
even use it because it was so
Like,
gross inside of there. Yeah.
Oh no. Poor Anguirus rotting from the inside.
Rotting from the inside.
Oh.
Yeah. This little motherfucker gets the shit kicked out of him though.
I was so scared. Anguirus has been so disrespected so frequently over the course of this Showa era, especially behind the scenes. And then we finally got him back, and he's the first on the screen. And then it hit me like, oh no, what if he's first on the screen because he gets killed right away? I was like so scared. It's still brutal. Everything that happens to him is still very brutal, but it wasn't as bad as I expected.
Yeah, it was really I was always like taken aback by Anguirus' treatment in this film. Again, to compare it to wrestling, it's very much like you got to put Mechagodzilla over by having him beat, or Godzilla over by having him beat like another like smaller monster. But establish like look how strong this guy is. But Anguirus, like Jun Fukuda's direction, obviously a little more like, who cares, than Ishiro Honda. And especially since, Honda didn't direct and Tsuburaya wasn't doing special effects direction at this point. He'd passed away. It was, they had less of like apprehension about like monster violence, especially like monsters bleeding profusely.
Oh my God.
Like in like in Gigan, Godzilla's head gets busted open. And in this film, they tear Anguirus' jaws apart, and it's it's very I found it very unsettling. It reminded me of the 1933 King Kong, where Kong tears the T-Rex's jaws apart. And they like bleed, and it's like wow, okay, this movie's not playing around. And then the characters are like, oh, Godzilla wouldn't do that. That's weird. Godzilla must be having a bad day. Like, after mauling his best friend.
Well, that's what's so exciting about Anguirus being in this movie and in this position to me specifically, because I love him. He's like a puppy dog. And it feels like at this point in history, that must be how people are viewing him, or at least how the people making this movie is, right? Like, what monster can Godzilla beat up that we will all feel really terrible about him beating up? And it's Anguirus,
And it's like his best, like they even say it in the movie, he's like, they're best friends. So it's like the visual of, I mean, I think you can kind of tell by this point that there's something up, but like the visual of like the best friend that you trust, like ripping your jaw open. And especially like he's kind of like been Godzilla's dog before. It's like, it feels extra icky that it's just like, you can't beat up your dog like that. What do you do? What are you monster,
Yeah. It's just so physical.
It is. It really is. And like, you feel super bad for Anguirus because like he does get the shit kicked out of him over and over, and just I know I want to spoil Destroy All Monsters. But get ready. In Godzilla versus Gigan, he just kind of walks into the blade. Just I guess I'll go there. And then in Godzilla versus Megalon, he falls into like the cracks and stuff. And he's just so hapless. And then at the very end, he's like, hi Godzilla. Like, what are we doing today? And then Godzilla tears his mouth open, and he retreats like, I guess he's just mad. And like, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's so sad.
I know, he's so sad walking away. What did I do?
It is a little it is kind of a bummer that like after he leaves, you never see him for the rest of this movie. So it's just like, I hope he's okay. Like, I hope he's okay. I don't know.
Let that boy heal. He needs to heal.
Oh my God.
Do you think it made things weird, like on like Monster Island, where it's just like, look?
Oh my gosh, right? It's like, I know it wasn't you, but like it looked like you, and I'm just getting over that, and I just need some time and some space.
He acts like a dog whenever you accidentally get sort of the vacuum cleaner too close.
No.
And he's just like, buddy, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry that happened. That was not me. That was a robot.
That's so sad. Finally gets the call to come back, and he just is there to get beat up.
Yeah. Speaking of the absolute like heinous monster who does that to him, let's talk about Mechagodzilla. So He's portrayed by Kazunari Mori, who the only credits I've ever found for him are for playing Mechagodzilla and then playing some kaiju in Jumborg Ace, and that's it. But I never picked up on this until like a wiki page told me. In Godzilla vs. Kong, Brian Tyree Henry's character, Bernie, says that he keeps Katsunari single malt whiskey in a flask, and repeatedly says that a few times. Referencing, and that movie has Mechagodzilla in it, so it's referencing.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a deep reference.
Yeah.
For like
Right?
one of the American movies, especially.
Yeah, like referencing a not particularly famous suit actor playing who played Mechagodzilla for the first time in your MonsterVerse movie with Mechagodzilla. It's just,
But I guess it makes sense.
really?
Like originating actor, like that's the exact kind of reference you want, you know?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. But yeah, the fake Godzilla first. So his original Godzilla version, obviously sometimes he's in like the regular Godzilla suit, but then you see especially when he's fighting Godzilla, it's that creepy, like emotionless looking one. It's because they were just using what's called an attraction suit, which is basically the suit that they build that is just for like promotional appearances, not intended for filming. It's a thing that would just be on a stage at an event. So it's not very articulated. It's not a thing that moves, but for whatever reason, their promotional suit just looks fucking creepy.
so it's like the Godzilla thing that they're like, Godzilla's at the mall today.
Right.
Okay.
But this thing would have to scare children though. Like it is a creepy looking
It's
face.
a weird looking suit. It is a weird,
Yeah.
like, it's got that like the leer.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously they use it because then they don't have to build a whole other Godzilla suit.
Yeah.
But I think it also does add to the effect because it makes him seem creepier, makes him feel like more of an imposter too.
Yeah. I mean, I was wondering about that because I was not at any point expecting to see two Godzillas on screen at the same time, even though at this point it's clear something is wrong. I still wasn't expecting that, largely because I wasn't expecting two suits. So I don't think there was a point in this movie I jumped back more times than trying to like go back and forth looking at the two suits on screen at the same time, just to be like, what is happening? Like they're clearly on camera at the same time.
Yeah. When he changes into Mechagodzilla, the effect is like, I mean, obviously it's all practical because it's 1974, but like it's a really cool practical effect. They basically took the top half of the Mechagodzilla suit, covered it in aluminum foil, with a light being shined onto it, make the foil shimmer all at once, and then superimposed a fire effect over it, which they created by cutting a steel plate in the shape of Mechagodzilla, covering it in alcohol-based explosives, and lighting it on fire.
Shit's so metal.
Right?
So cool.
Literally.
That rules.
Yeah. But that obviously becomes regular Mechagodzilla. I'm curious the thoughts of the design of the OG Mechagodzilla.
I like it a lot. I wasn't sure what to expect because I've seen sort of these like I guess more modern ones, although like it's weird to say that some of the ones I've seen are like particularly modern because they're not super different than this. But there's something about this one that feels very like practical mech suit, you know, the type of stuff that I'm used to seeing from growing up with like Power Rangers or things like that, feels cool in this specific space, in this specific era, you know, and all the effects that accompany it feel so correct. I don't know. There's something about it that's very charming while also being very cool.
Yeah, first of all, fun fact, Masaru Sato's like bum 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 that plays almost needle drop style when Mechagodzilla appears. That was my entrance theme for a backyard wrestling.
Yo! That's awesome.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Oh, that rolls. It's so good.
Yeah, it was. I've loved it. It's one of my favorite scores. Like I know that I know Ifukube the goat. But Masaru Sato every once in a while will like knock it out of the park with like the hardest shit you've ever heard. But in terms of Mechagodzilla, I love the metal on it. I love that it's not like super shiny. It's kind of like definitely something that they like shipped and packaged through space.
Yeah. I like that you can see the seams and the rivets and all that.
Yeah, and I love the fact that like, you know, as the film goes on, you think like, well, there's no way Mechagodzilla's gonna have a counter for this, and he does every single time. Like whether it's like the eye beams, the missiles, the like the neck thing, he has little knee machine guns. And he flies, he spins his head around to do the thing. Oh, it's so cool. He is so cool.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, I know you mentioned. I like when you mentioned just sort of the look of him, that he's not like too shiny. He's got the rivets and everything. I think a lot of that was really intentional because I know that like at certain points in design they really were like, we don't want this guy to look too smooth. We're gonna add those rivets and like inscriptions and weird lines and stuff to break it up a little bit. I think Nakano's like design ideas when they were sort of conceiving of this was basically like literally just taking like, if you saw a tin toy of Godzilla, looking at where all the curves are and just hammering him down in straight lines. So like the particular shape that he is, where he's like all lines and angles rather than the curves, like I think also makes his appearance just feel really like sharp, Yeah.
I like that. I also like his little MG.
It's so good.
Oh,
it's so good.
Wait, I didn't notice this. Where is it? Oh,
I think it's on his arm. Or his shoulder,
it's on his arm.
Oh, that's so good.
It's a little MG, like they were like, don't steal it.
That's so cool.
They were like, if you see a Mechagodzilla without the MG, it's a bootleg. Don't fall for it, Japan. I like that. I really like the little MG. It's such like it's so like the aliens. I think they're in the aliens of the black hole planet X, or no, black hole aliens. They're so cocky. They're so cocky the entire time. Like they don't have like, if you like in like Monster Zero where they're like, please, King Ghidorah's ruining all our stuff.
Right.
But these guys are like, this Godzilla sucks. We got a cool new Godzilla. And they brand Mechagodzilla. They're totally the kind of aliens that would put Mechagodzilla on the thing. Like, tell your friends who did this to you.
Right.
Yeah. Oh God, I fucking love it. It's so smart. It's like toyetic as hell, but like in the best possible way. It's great. I mean, some of the ways that they made it, it's pretty standard the way that they made it. Like they made a separate upper half and lower half so they could, get into the suit more easily. Obviously, a lot of fiber reinforced plastic like usual. The body its head and hands were the fiber reinforced plastic. Apparently its body was made from a polyethylene material that's used in bath mats.
Oh, okay.
I've run into that one before. So sure. They repurposed its eyes from tail lights from a car. I think that they definitely do that for King Caesar as well in this movie. You can tell.
I love that.
And and if you were wondering, the suit actor looks out of the shutters in his neck. That's where the face is for that.
It's perfect. It's perfect design, and what a relief to be able to be like, you know what? It's a machine. We're just going to put vents here where your face is. We don't have to hide it.
Yeah. So good. A lot of the weapons too, I think were from Koichi Kawakita because he was a big fan of mechas. So they like tasked him to like be like naming them and coming up with some ideas and stuff. So like the rainbow colored space beams were actually riffing on a Ultraman Ace beam that Kawakita was trying to do for Ultraman Ace that didn't happen. So he gets to reuse it this time. And also I forgot to mention this at one point early in design, they were going to color Mechagodzilla like rainbow colored. And then we're like, maybe we shouldn't. But I'm like, there's a universe where that would have been interesting.
Right. Take me there.
Yeah. Oh, also his roar is like just Godzilla roar, just like super sped and altered. But it is still a Godzilla roar under there somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes it even creepier. Like it's already a creepy sound. It's already like an unsettling noise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else about Mechagodzilla in general right now?
Not until like we discuss kind of the end and the stuff that goes down there.
Sure. Well, let's get to King Caesar then. I'm sure the character you've been waiting for, Doug.
How have I never encountered King Caesar in any way, shape, or like Gigan I was aware of, even if I didn't really know about. That's like Ghidorah, obviously I knew about.
You've
Like
never
I'd
even
even
seen art of this guy or anything?
I don't know if I have. It didn't like I didn't internalize it.
So
I mean,
funny.
part of it might be because King Caesar's design is like so unlike anything we've seen. So it's possible I've seen art and not thought, oh, that's Godzilla art. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, but truly, when they were started talking about a King Caesar, I was like, oh, this is like genuinely a monster I feel like I've never heard the name of.
So cool.
King
So
Caesar's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of like, he's not the best Godzilla partner, but in terms of like the partner you want in like a brawl,
Yes.
Yeah.
Caesar's great.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
The fact when like Mechagodzilla like shoots the eye beams at him and he shoots the eye beams right back out. That's
So
so
good.
cool. Why?
Yeah.
But that's so cool.
It's King Caesar kind of like the problem. If there's a problem with King Caesar, I think it's more like I think the movie has trouble figuring out what to do with him because there's so much building to deploying him, and then he kind of immediately gets his ass kicked despite displaying some of the coolest powers, and he doesn't really do that much. But I agree with you. Like as maybe a Godzilla's partner, he doesn't work, but like as a character on his own, he's such a scrappy little fighter.
Yeah.
He's like I love how he just jumps on people. Like they really took like he's like half dog. We're gonna make him look like a little terrier, just like on the attack right now.
He's like chewing on Mechagodzilla's hands.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
There's like I love the idea of like the not great partner, but you're like at least happy he's on your side. Like I can't control him. He's not going to listen to strategy, but like he might tear somebody apart. And I'm glad it's not me.
Yeah. I mentioned this before, but if you're wondering why he's King Caesar, which like means absolutely nothing, King Shisha was the what they were saying in Japan, and I think that they originally were trying to just Romanize it as King Caesar, like Seeser. So it's like still, I don't know why they didn't just keep it Shisha, but I guess maybe they felt like it sounded better in English that way. But then a lot of contemporary reviews and publications would just call him King Seesaw. And they were like, we don't want that to be his name, so we're just gonna go with Caesar because it sounds cool. So that's how we kind of get it, which like loses the actual mythology part of it, but
gains kind of a bit of humor to be named like King Caesar. It's like King Rex. You know what I mean?
Right.
He also gets a song.
Yeah.
Which is like the sign, like along with like Mothra, I can't think of another Godzilla partner that's gotten like a musical number. I don't think there is. I
think Jet Jaguar has a theme.
Jet Jaguar does.
It's not when people have to like sing to.
It's like an out of universe theme. But yeah, you're right. As far as like a summoning song, that might just be those two.
Anguirus never got a song.
Oh, I'll be the one to write it.
No one was ever like, Anguirus.
I don't even think he has like a musical.
Coming to get his ass kicked again, Anguirus.
Oh, poor guy.
I need it now, though.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But King Caesar gets like a whole song, which by the way, when I watched the movie growing up was the most like mind-numbing, exhaustive part of the entire movie. It was, oh my gosh, that song lasts a year and a half. I'm still listening to that song.
Lasts a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, which I think also adds to sort of like when he does throw up, it's like, oh yay, that's it.
Okay, well.
Okay, well. I want more from you. Man. You can do so much more. I do love the way his little ears lift up. I think it's also very cute.
Yeah, it's such a cool design. Like and like I said, unlike anything we've seen, and to my knowledge, unlike anything we will see, based on now having seen most of it. It's a really cool design.
He's so fuzzy, and you don't really get that many fuzzy Godzilla kaiju, and that he is literally just like a mythological dog.
Well, that's the thing. This is gonna sound so stupid because there's really like a 3-headed dragon in this same universe, but there's something about King Caesar that feels, even without the context, feels so much more like mythological and fantastical than some of the stuff that we've seen, especially after just getting Gigan and Megalon, who is very cool but like more mechanical and bug-like than something like this, which is way more I don't know. I just feel like he should sparkle, you know? Like there's something about him.
He does have those shiny scales.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get that. He kind of feels a little bit like a Digimon, actually. Like
little
a lot
bit.
of Digimon pull from mythology
Could
and then
very
make them.
easily adapt this
Yeah.
into Digimon, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's talk about some of the human stuff that's going on that intersects with it, because there's kind of a lot going on in this, or at least a lot of people doing things. Thoughts on the human / ape alien plot of the movie in general, I guess.
I love aliens in Godzilla movies. I don't think I've been like particularly upset with it yet or at any point. If anything, maybe sometimes underwhelmed, but I like the idea of having aliens invade Earth and one of the defenses is Godzilla, you know? So I'm here for that. The general structure is so fascinating though, to have these like, we usually talk about a trio of main characters in this era, and we have 2 trios of main characters who are trying to like link up, which I think is a fun, like different structure. I don't know if it necessarily always pays off because they're jumping back and forth between the two, but I generally like this structure.
Yeah.
Because they're pursuing different pieces of the puzzle and trying to meet so that there's a full picture of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's maybe a few too many characters, but I don't know who you necessarily. Well,
I mean, you could make
do
it
more
2
than others.
duos instead of 2 trios.
Yeah.
I like the aliens a lot, again, because they're so cocky. The alien leader, I forget the actor that plays him, is so like, so yeah, again, so much confidence that this Mechagodzilla thing's gonna work out. And like out of the humans, I'm really glad that that Akiko Rata
Yes.
gets a good role in this.
He does.
He gets a good, like, meaty, kind of reserved a little bit. Like they're not like he's not playing like the doomed scientist. He's just kind of like a cool older figure.
Yeah.
But I like him. He's probably the guy I remember the most. Out of the guy that I like the most out of this movie.
Yeah.
It-
With his weird pipe.
Yeah,
his weird
Super
pipe.
spy pipe.
It's great. It's like, I know that they're still technically both actors of the era, but there's something about it that feels sort of like these are our captains to have Akihiko Hirata and Hiroshi Koizumi in each pair, like in each group, you know?
Yeah, and Koizumi, I don't think, because we'd gone out of order, I don't think I realized, like, we haven't actually seen him chronologically. We hadn't seen him in a Godzilla movie since Ghidorah, which was a decade earlier.
Oh, so it
he'd
is
done
like a
other
return.
Toho stuff. This is kind of a return from him. It had been
that's
a
cool.
long time since he was in it. Yeah, it's very cool. I wish he had a little more to do, but I'm glad that Hirata at least is like all over the movie especially at the end of it. Yeah, you mentioned it, but the main black hole alien Supreme Commander Kuronuma is Goro Mutsumi, who plays him.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing, because they were like, we need to have the villain of villains, and like Mutsumi is just like villains galore in everything all the time. Like that's his thing. And like stuff, and he's been in so much shit too, like voice roles, dubbing roles, live action stuff. We've mentioned like movies like ESPY, The War in Space. We mentioned Ultraman 80, and he was the Japanese voice for Russ Tamblyn in War of the Gargantuas. So like just things that, yeah, just stuff that we've touched, like he's been part of, but he plays a lot of villains. I agree with you. I think he's so good as just the most mustache twirling villain.
They also do like they become like the Planet of the Apes aliens when they die, which is so cool and like creepy and weird how they do it. Like the kind of like oozy shimmery thing that happens to their face whenever they transform back into it. And it's never quite explained, like the importance of them taking out like human guys, since they're mostly like in their underground layer the whole time. But I don't know. I really like that team of aliens. It reminds me of the Gigan aliens where they turn into cockroaches at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would they need to turn into cockroaches? And that's kind of cool.
It's cool, and it makes them like creepier in this movie, especially, right? Like every time one of them dies or is injured in some way, like you see the transformation more, and to have no explanation. Yes. Yeah. And to have no explanation just makes it.
And even the movements, they like start moving more ape-like too when they're, even if they're half transformed. I like that.
It's unsettling.
I mean, totally just there because Planet of the Apes was like a franchise that was also popular in Japan. But like, it's such a fascinating way to deploy, like, let's find some way to integrate ape mania into this. I guess we'll make the aliens shapeshift into apes when they're dying. Like, okay.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's a way that you can have the imagery without having to worry about like a mask that works, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure. That's a good point. That's a good point. Although the guy with like the half ape makeup though, like
That's
I was
true.
That's cool.
very impressed with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of our main guys I just think is interesting to point out, like Kazuya Aoyama was not the construction person from Expo 75, but his brother. We've talked about him because he was the star of Zone Fighter. He was Zone Fighter in that show the year before, and then that show gets canceled and they let him be a lead in this. He's also like a singer, like, and was in like a rock band, and then he retired like right after this movie, and is now like, he succeeded his father as the CEO and president of a seaweed wholesaler in Japan, still doing that to this day.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know. I thought that was weird. I thought that was kind of fascinating. His brother, the character that plays his brother, Masaki Diamond, hasn't really done as much stuff. He was a main role in Ultraman 80, but other than that,
gotcha.
Not much to say. And I think they're just kind of, your hot guy leads in this movie anyway. I do think it's fascinating that our archaeologist in the movie is a woman. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they do the thing where somebody doesn't expect her to be who she is, and she gets to have a little moment of like, you didn't think it would be a girl, did you? Which I feel like we see like in a decent number of things now, or like in other eras, but it was cool to see here.
Yeah. That actor, Reiko Tajima, like, she still acts to this day. She does a ton of TV, including, just learned this existed, the Japanese adaptations of the American shows Suits and Cold Case.
Oh, Cold
They
Case?
exist in Japan. Yeah.
I liked Cold Case.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I love her hats in this movie.
Yes.
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 Such good hats. Yeah. Oh, I also want to make sure we call out the Interpol agent in this, because there's also that. Nanbara, their super spy that shows up, Shin Kashida. He has been called the Japanese Christopher Lee because of his roles. We've mentioned this before, those Dracula movies, the Bloodthirsty trilogy, like Lake of Dracula. He was the vampire in those movies, which we've talked about watching at some point because they sound really good. So like, he's known for playing vampires in them. I feel like you can look at him and be like, yeah, you'd make a good
He is a
vampire.
really
I think
striking
that kinda
image.
makes sense.
I was like, do I know this guy, or does he just look like someone I should know? Like, he has that kind of face.
Yeah. He has showed up in like some Sentai and Ultraman stuff too, but
Gotcha.
the Dracula thing is what he's most known for.
Oh, that's fun.
Did y'all watch both have y'all seen both the sub and the dub of this?
I've never actually watched the dub of this. Actually,
No, I haven't watched the dub.
I don't want to. I haven't seen the dub in a long time. Again, it was the Good Times home video that I watched countless times. But the Interpol agent is like, they give him the weirdest, not the weirdest dub voice, but he's so like, I don't know, and that's like,
Just like a
like,
really
whenever they're on the
strange
boat, and he's like overlooking the couple, he's like, oh, on a night like this, you should talk about love. And like,
Hey, on a beautiful night like this, you should talk about love.
and it's like, and when I'm like 5 years old, watching, I'm like, this is weird. I wish they'd go back to the monsters. I don't like this Interpol guy one bit. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Kenji Sahara is in here, and I noticed his name in the credits, and I was on like high alert, so I must have like looked away when he showed up, because then I looked up like who he was and was like, I don't think I caught him. Was he in a disguise or a costume or something? I know sometimes he loves to be in like a beard.
No, he's just he's in a captain's outfit. He's the guy who just like shows up and it's like, hey guys, I saved your statue that it looked like was important, even though I don't know who you are, I don't think, and just saved it from people that seemed like they're stealing it. Like,
Yeah,
that's what he does. He saves the day kind of.
It's funny
But
because I know exactly.
I don't think he's even
when you're-
named. He's literally just the captain of the boat.
Yeah.
And that whole boat like sequence is cool, especially when
Yeah.
they like obviously have filmed it during the daytime and put a filter on it to pretend that it's nighttime. I think it's really
Yeah.
funny, but it looks cool.
It's a fun setting. It's not a setting we've seen.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't expecting it to be a full like set for
Right.
things happening. So it is a cool set.
And some of the fight sequences are cool.
And I can even think of like exactly what you're talking about, and it just did not.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't notice him.
That's him. Cameo king, I guess.
Well, truly, right? Most movies
Yeah.
of any actor, I think, right? So
Yeah. It's just
at least that we've watched, and probably in total.
Yeah. I mean, look, like I said, I do think that this movie could have trimmed its cast a little bit. We didn't even mention the one other female character who's like the daughter of, is she the daughter of Harada or the daughter of Koizumi? I don't even remember because they're both professors.
I think she's got to be the daughter of Harada because
That's
the
right, 'cause she
guy
gets kidnapped
is the
with them.
son of Koizumi.
Right. And she does, but she does nothing but get kidnapped and be in a cute outfit. Other than that,
Yeah.
nothing, no relevance,
I agree with you that it could have been trimmed down, but I do think the fact that Koizumi and Harada are these like captain characters,
They're cool,
makes it a
yeah.
little less egregious that the other and it's in favor of these two returning characters, and they're not focusing on just like their generic hot people. So
That's true. That's
if they were
fair.
going to balance it out in some way, this is the way I would want them to.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to mention that I thought was kind of interesting, the princess who has the prophecies. She's played by Bella Lin. She's actually a Korean actress, and this is her only Japanese movie she was ever in. And her other movies that she's been in are actually Chinese produced movies.
Oh.
Funny enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But she gets to be sing the big song. So,
Yeah. I would assume that's probably how she ended up here, but who knows?
Probably
Good
so.
for her.
Yeah, good for her. Any plot things that come up that we want to get to?
Magnetism.
Magnetism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Godzilla is like he gets the lightning. He gets his lightning powers. First of all, he gets like the most bloody he ever gets in the entire franchise.
Blood flying
everywhere.
Just slasher
Spraying.
moving out of his neck.
Wild.
And then he gets boink, 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 boink.
Yeah.
And they stick into him, like he gets darted, and then he shows up and they go boop, 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 and then he just calls him. And again, a great example of that grand movement I was talking about, where he's just like, yeah, come over here. Like when Mechagodzilla's trying to fly away. It's really cool. But again, it was one of the first Godzilla movies I watched as a kid, and I was so taken aback by the fact that Godzilla is just drenched in blood by the end of it. And the magnetism, like, I don't know if it necessarily helps, because like Mechagodzilla, like, you don't want him closer to you. He has kicked your ass the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't want to be like, all right, now that I can get closer to you, you could beat me up like even faster.
Yeah.
But the magnetism thing always kind of stuck out to me as like, especially because they've done like kind of like lightning based like plot points before to like make a monster like stronger, like inspiring stronger, like King Kong and King Kong versus Godzilla. But in this one, it's very kind of like out of nowhere. Like there's no humans taking like part of, like they're not trying to wake him up or like the horror of Ebra. He's just out in a thunderstorm. He has a very like, he reminds me of like Vegeta after he gets beaten, like out in, like the rainstorm meme. You know what I'm talking about? And that Godzilla standing in the rain, just like lightning. I gotta go to Super Saiyan. It's very he just does it himself.
I think that's the thing that is notable to me is like, this is a strategic move on the part of Godzilla. It's not a thing he was tricked into doing or an accident. Like it seems premeditated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because it's odd. The history of lightning in these movies is so odd because it's not always consistent, and like I think Ebra is the only time where it like really was affecting Godzilla. I can't remember exactly how it goes in that movie, but like doesn't it supercharges him or wakes him up or something?
Well, it wakes him up. They wake him up in that mountain, or he's like just taking a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so like it's an interesting like elevation of that where it's sort of like not only just lightning just wake Godzilla up, which I guess it would wake anybody up, but now it's like it's like he actually absorbs power from it. It's just so fascinating. It's like I see how you can get there of like he's fighting a metal monster. You can become magnetic to fight a metal monster, get struck by lightning because Godzilla's cool, but it's just like but then when you try to work it in to the context of the movie of like the actual narrative, it's like what has he ever done anything like this?
The humans play. I think it's weird because the humans play no part in it. Like usually they do like, well, we got to give Godzilla magnetism powers to do this,
right?
But it's one of those things that would imply that Godzilla knows how magnets work. And it's kind of like in the Two Towers when he says like looks like meat's back on the menu, and it's like that would imply that the Urukai know what menus are. They know what restaurants. They know what restaurants are. Like that kind of like this implies so much stuff that Godzilla knows about like the properties of the earth. Like he knows what magnets do. He knows that Mechagodzilla is made out of metal and that magnets work on metal. And so like it opens up more stuff that closes. And it also doesn't end up being like the big thing. He just kind of Mechagodzilla just ends up on the ground, and like, okay, yeah. But I've always thought that was such a weird plot line because of it. Yeah,
I like the idea of it, but the fact that nothing like this has happened before, I think, is like a really big factor in it not making a whole lot of sense. Which sounds obvious, but there is this idea that these monsters might feed on energy or be drawn to energy or want to stop humans from doing some kind of energy. And so it's not a far stretch to get to a place where these monsters can take advantage of different kinds of energy. So I like the idea, and I think it's a cool, I don't know what inspired it, but whatever it was, I think is cool. But it really does come out of nowhere. And I didn't know what was... I kind of had an idea that he was like supercharging, but I didn't know how it was going to manifest. And I just figured it would be like lightning, or I figured his atomic breath would be different in some way. Magnets is not what I was expecting.
Fucking magnets, how do they work?
It's like getting a Mega Man power and you don't actually shoot anything, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. And especially like, I mean, I think it's cool, and visually, I think it looks really cool when he's getting surrounded by the electric poles and stuff like that. But it also, I think, ends up taking away further from King Caesar, because it's another thing that King Caesar has nothing to do with really at all, like it's a cool idea, but I do think they could have worked it in easier too, because they even bring up like with the weird pipe that Harada's character has, like it is like an electromagnetic thing that they bring up, so it's weird that doesn't come into play with this part.
Yeah, when they bring up the pipe, I was like, oh, they're telling us how they're going to solve the Mechagodzilla problem. Like, it seemed so clear that it was going to have nothing to do with Godzilla specifically.
It's kind of like, again, to bring back up King Kong versus Godzilla, when he's like, I made an invention. It's this super strong wire. That I can kind of, and but this, the pipe thing ends up being totally, for the most part, pretty different from Godzilla. And even, again, I think the idea that Godzilla does it on his like own like instinctual volition. Like he's like, I got it. This is the one thing I got to do.
So funny.
He goes through his like training arc.
Yeah,
he really does. Yeah. And you know what? He gets to rip off Mechagodzilla's head.
It's super
rips
cool.
It clean off. That is pretty badass.
Yeah. They make it pretty clear early on that you just got to focus on the head,
Yeah. Well, and I do think that they've made Mechagodzilla enough of just a really hateable asshole that like it's really satisfying when Godzilla rips his head clean off. Yeah. What? I'm trying to think back. I'm not trying to rag on the guy because I love him. What does King Caesar ultimately contribute to this fight, though? He does cool things, but in terms of actually defeating Mechagodzilla, do they let him really actually deliver any significant blows, or does he just kind of do stuff and distract it most of the time?
The big thing I remember is the countering of powers, but that's so early on.
He bites his hand, which again is a very dog thing,
right?
But what else? What else does he do? He's got to do something.
There's even a point when like there's that really cool wide shot where like Godzilla's turned his head clean backwards and he fires against Godzilla and King Caesar at the same time. he shoots the eye beams at King Caesar that King Caesar should be able to reflect, but then he doesn't. So like even in moments when he could have done something cool, they don't let him. And I kind of feel like I think it's a pretty valid criticism of this movie that like they introduced this guy that I think is supposed to be a big representation thematically of like their sort of Okinawa setting and this sort of legend and folklore versus futuristic space aliens and like really hammer that in. But then it's sort of like, yeah, but like he does kind of, he's not very effective, is he? Like, I think it kind of undercuts that entire theme that they're introducing. And like, I feel like a movie is very much honoring like the Okinawan people and in some ways, but that kind of does a disservice to them, I think.
It really sort of boils down to like saying you're a part of this too, because like King Caesar is there and he does do some stuff, but yeah, I think it's not the critical piece, which is what you would sort of expect from them featuring this so much. That's what made the context fascinating. And then, now looking back on it, I don't know that they deliver on that context.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I don't know. The only thing that I do kind of like about that stuff, it's nothing to do with King Caesar, but it's just the bit when they tell the archaeologists that like you shouldn't have stolen our artifact to give it back, and then they're like, "Yeah, you're right, we should." Like I feel like that's actually a pretty progressive idea for that kind of thing. Like, again, I wish it then like played a role in like supercharged King Caesar or something like that. But I guess it wakes him up, but then he like doesn't do anything. But anyway. Yeah, I don't mean to harp on that. It's always weirded me out how ineffective he is when that feels like such a vital part of this movie.
Yeah, and I think the movies do sometimes fall into that problem where it's like, it's cool to have a tag team, but I don't know that they always service or balance out the tag team, right? So like Gigan being like a sidekick in his like debut kind of is like a weird thing, right? Or like Megalon is kind of overshadowed by the debut of Jet Jaguar. So like they haven't really figured out the balancing thing, and they don't really figure it out here either.
Yeah.
I think just generally, I think it is cool that this movie kicks off in a really different way than any other movie we've seen, with this sort of like, it's obvious that something is wrong, but just even presenting the question of like, what's wrong with Godzilla? Like at this point, we all treat Godzilla like a superhero and we all can tell that something is wrong. I just think that's really neat. And it's not, you don't have to be a genius to start picking up on the clues, but it is fun. And I normally am just like along for the ride when there is a mystery presented to me, but it was fun, like writing down all the things that were like slightly off, especially not knowing exactly what was going on. Because as far as I was concerned, it could have been that Godzilla was under control, right? Or I wasn't expecting Mechagodzilla to be under there. So being like, well, the cry seems kind of weird. Is that just like this movie, or is there something wrong with the cry, right? Or like just things like that, I think was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
His atomic breath is the wrong color. It makes me feel like a genius being new to the series.
Well, and I think it helps that they have the tension of this like prophecy they have going on, like this that of like literally like they have someone having visions of a future and stuff like that, and then the sort of folklore that the archaeologist uncovers, and like so then you have that backdrop of like, well, what thing is going to be the great monster, and what thing is going to help the monster, and what's this, and so that kind of helps like, because they're guessing right with you, like, wait, is Godzilla gonna actually be the destructive monster or something like that? So it's a really fun bit of tension, even if if you're, most of us are probably smart enough to figure out like that's probably Mechagodzilla under like pretending to be Godzilla.
It's pretty early that he starts like glinting underneath his skin,
But in universe, it's pretty cool to see them trying to keep track of that and align it with these like prophetic visions and warnings and things like that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I like this movie, and I like that it's a prophecy movie. I always love a prophecy. I think the ways that they manifested like their big black cloud and their big red sun thing.
They're like two suns. One's a reflection of the real sun, and they were like, "How could there be two suns?"
Right. That kind of,
which is clever.
I love all that kind of stuff. And again, the sort of the sort of contrast of like legend and magic and folklore with like just space aliens with a future robot. And then the folklore kind of wins in a way. I wish that theme was a little bit stronger and more pronounced in this movie, but I like that it's there considering the Okinawa of it all. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Still the takeaway.
Yeah. I really like, over time I've come to appreciate, Jun Fukuda's Godzilla films. I think this is his best one. Um, I know that historically he didn't really care for his Godzilla movies. Like he was just like, they're whatever. But I really liked, it's one of the ones that's like my relationship with it that I had as a kid hasn't really changed. Like I'm still very
Yeah.
like hype over when Godzilla or Mechagodzilla shows up. And I still think a lot of like the action beats toward the end. I think that's where the uh when the wider plots converging with like monster and human.
Hmm.
Um Towards the end, sometimes they kind of have like problems with that where you're just like, just go back to the monsters, but it's framed the human alien like plot like is suspenseful enough, and then the action kind of breaks down well enough
Yeah.
that I don't really mind them like going back and forth. And again, Masaru Sato's score is so like peppy and
Yeah.
eager, and it really helps scenes that like would have otherwise been like, oh my gosh, come on, you know. So I it's it's definitely not my favorite Godzilla movie. Don't even know it's my favorite Mechagodzilla movie.
Hmm.
But I really enjoy like the awe-inspiring amount of like this is awesome and we kind of know it's awesome.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
this
I
from like
agree.
either Godzilla doing lightning for like the to the all out attack of like Mechagodzilla shooting all of his lasers at once, um, or all of his weapons at once as Godzilla and Mechagodzilla or
Yeah.
Godzilla and King Caesar are just getting like tossed around.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's so like unabashedly like, yeah, screw it, let's just have them shoot them all at once. Why not?
Right.
I
It's
think
awesome.
yeah, and I
Let's see them
Yeah.
explode.
it looks like this is the last Godzilla movie he directs, right? If I'm reading
Hmm.
these
Yes,
credits
it
right.
is. It is.
Um, so I'm glad you brought this up because I've now seen all of them and looking at the ones that he specifically has done, I think I get why he wouldn't necessarily think anything big about his movies, but I think the flip side to that is he makes fun Godzilla movies and maybe he doesn't think
Yeah.
it's a big deal because he's like, well, we'll just do fun stuff. It's not that deep, but like all of his movies are ones that I'm looking at where I was like, that was fun to
It's fun.
watch. Like they
Yeah.
are fun
And
movies to watch.
this one is genuinely, I think, especially compared to the last couple he's done, I think very like well shot, and I think like has some really interesting camera work in it. And like considering, I know that they were always working under a budget, like some of these fight sequences and the lighting of them and everything like look really incredible.
Mhm.
I know a lot of that was also Nakano too, but like all of them working in tandem, this movie looks a little more like a real movie than Megalon did.
Yeah.
And I say that with love. I like Megalon.
Yeah.
That does look like a
But
TV
this one
show
looks nice.
on a movie. This one does look like a movie in a way that the Godzilla movies hadn't for a while. And I think that I don't know, it feels like Mechagodzilla did really inspire them. And I think probably Okinawa as a location also being really beautiful on its own
Mhm.
probably also inspired them too. And I think you feel that. This just feels like a movie that people
Yeah.
put a lot into, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I like this movie. I like
Me
this movie
too.
quite a lot.
I really liked watching this one.
I think it maybe is one of my favorite Showa movies. Honestly, it's very cool and it just feels very competently made too.
I feel pretty confident saying it's one of my favorite Showa movies. I've like
Mhm.
instant like while I was watching it, I was thinking like, "Whoa, I'm really enjoying this one." So
Yeah,
that doesn't feel weird for me to say.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
I like this movie. I I wonder I would put it as like I might put it as one of the movies that I'd show someone if they wanted to get into Godzilla a little bit.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
I think it's
I
great.
think it's
Yeah,
one of them. Because it's again, it's fun and it doesn't have like I think Godzilla as like the super important kind of thematic context is really hard to like kind of shove somebody into.
Mhm.
Even to the extent of like if you like my favorite Godzilla movie is Mothra vs. Godzilla, the 1964 version.
hell yeah.
Very
And
good.
there's like even that one is kind of like, haha, this one's actually about capitalism and environmental negligence. And
Right.
how Japan hasn't really come back from nuclear, testing,
Yeah.
But this one is like this Godzilla movie. It's I'm glad that you gave it kind of historical and cultural context, Derek. And I think like I'm probably gonna watch it again, like knowing that because I did not know any of that.
Mhm.
But it's also like just as easy to watch. Be like, what if it was like a robot Godzilla and like
Right,
he was
right.
awful?
Right.
Right.
So it really, I think it really works as this kind of like, and it's just like goofy enough that you can kind of like, that it doesn't require any extra like legwork from like an audience member to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really get into. But yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm glad we got to have you on to talk about your boy.
Thank you for inviting me.
Obviously, you've got books out. You've got books coming out. So plug everything that you would like to plug right now for the listeners.
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky mostly. Daniel Dockery, just look him up. He's cool. I'm on like Instagram there. The other social media sites are dead to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got I write for a bunch of different stuff. My book Monster Kids: How Pokemon Taught a Generation to Catch Them All came out in 2022, and you can get it places. My next book, I Am the Night: The Ultimate Unauthorized History of Batman the Animated Series, comes out on September 1st of this year. If you like Batman the Animated Series or like 90s cartoons or a mix of any of that or just like animation as a medium, you check that out. I'm very proud of it. And in 2028, Life Finds a Way about the narrative history of the making of Jurassic Park and the impact it had on both movies and paleontology comes out in 2 years, summer in 2 years from now. So
Nice.
Awesome. It's so exciting. Yeah. Keep an eye out for all of that. Yeah. I'll make sure I plug all that stuff in the show notes as well.
I appreciate it.
Well, thanks again to Daniel. That is not all, though. We still have a little more episode left. First of all, our very, very, very good friend Russ over at Kaiju Comic Cast. You heard him previously on our Space Godzilla episode. I think he had a little cameo in our Hedorah episode as well. And we've both been on his podcast many, many times. I knew before we recorded this that he was a really, really, really big fan of this Godzilla movie specifically, but I actually had never heard his thoughts on it. So I'm very curious what he has to say about it. So he sent us in a voice note just with some of his thoughts on this movie, and I am going to play that right now.
Hello, this is Russell from Kaiju Comic Cast. Not using my normal recording equipment for this, so it might sound horrific, but I'd like to send in my thoughts regarding Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. So, ever since I started listening to Skreonk, I have been waiting and yearning for Derek and Doug, specifically Doug, to finally see this movie. And I think it's wonderful. I've mentioned this so many times. It's wonderful how Derek has plotted out this show to where you're seeing the original Mechagodzilla last. And I mean the incarnation, not the film itself. It's wonderful. I just love how this whole show is put together. But I've been waiting for Doug to see this for two specific reasons. One, Anguirus is in it, and maybe has one of the most disturbing scenes that we could possibly put the guy in. Don't worry, he's fine. But man, is it horrifying watching Anguirus look at who he thinks is his best buddy almost rip his jaw apart, akin to 1933 King Kong. It's pretty traumatizing, to be honest. I mean, I remember seeing this as a kid and being quite freaked out by the amount of bloodshed in it. The other thing is, very early on in Skreonk, Doug was watching all the Planet of the Apes movies. And the whole time I'm thinking, boy, you have no idea what's coming, because you're going to see basically Planet of the Apes in your Godzilla films. The black hole aliens are some of my favorite aliens in the franchise. I think, they were the first ones I saw, I think. I'm pretty sure I saw this movie before I saw Astro Monster, so the Zillions didn't come till later for me. But the black hole aliens, especially their leader, I think is so awesome. That performance is so great. I was telling Derek off mic that he kind of has Vegeta energy, and that's also kind of poetic because they turn into apes. I think this movie is really good. I love King Caesar. King Caesar is one of my favorite kaiju. I am always intrigued by mammalian kaiju, and I guess you could say that he's kind of a rock monster or something, but his features are that of a dog. It's a certain kind of statue in Japanese culture that I can't remember, but I always thought he looked more like a lion. Always been fascinated by King Caesar. He gets that wonderful that wonderful awakening scene with a music number. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's awesome. And Mechagodzilla, the Showa one, is my favorite version of the character. I understand why people like Mechagodzilla 2 and why people love Kiryu, but I want my evil alien Mechagodzilla with all of his finger beams and eye beams and mouth beams and rotating head, and he's awesome. And the fact that he poses as the original Godzilla is so cool and adds such a layer to it. Obviously, when you're watching it as an adult, you're like, well, that's definitely a different suit. That's probably not the real Godzilla. But, yeah, I think this movie rules. It's one of my favorites of the Showa era, and it's definitely one of my favorites of the, quote, superhero era of Godzilla. This Godzilla suit I always call the grumpy one because he just looks so cute and so grumpy, and he has like that perpetual frown and that perpetual grimace on his face, but those eyes are so big and wonderful. Yeah, this movie, it rips. I can't wait for you to talk about the direct sequel. So thanks, guys.
Thank you again, Russ. I always love your enthusiasm for our show and how much you remember things more than we do, to be honest. But now I've got some cover art to show you, Doug.
Ooh!
Yes. So Kaiju Casey did this. He is a really great artist that I think deserves more love because his art is really cool, very comic book based. And I think you can tell because the art he sent me, it's going to be scaled down for the actual episode cover art, but this is actually like kind of comic book cover sized what he created, and it's really sick.
This is really cool. The framing through
the framing
Mechagodzilla's mouth.
It's literally Mechagodzilla. You see Godzilla and King Caesar coming in for a big ass punch into Godzilla's mouth from the POV of the inside of Godzilla's mouth.
This rules. I'm really into this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. All the line work on this is so incredible.
Yeah. This is really great.
Yeah, definitely follow Kaiju Casey. I think he deserves more eyes on his work because it is all very, very good. And this comic book style is sick. And I don't know, maybe he'll get to draw some Godzilla comic book covers one day.
That'd be rule. That would be rule. That would be awesome.
Yeah, find his stuff in the show notes. If you want to look at the unedited versions of the cover art, so this like full comic book cover style, you can find that on glitterjaw.com on the Skrionk page. We've got all of our covers there, as well as links to the artists who have done them. And, you'll also see it on your podcast apps and social media and things like that. I've got a couple of mailbaggy type things.
Ooh.
Very simple. I mostly just want to tell people that, yes, we know what organic glass is now.
We know now.
And
thank you to the people who explained it. It's funny because as I was reading through the explanation, I was like, the moment organic chemistry was mentioned, I was like, oh, I don't get it because this is a topic I literally just never... I heard people talking about it. I knew people took OChem, and I always knew it was never going to be a thing I knew about. So I was like, okay, makes sense. I get it now.
A couple people wrote in. I know G Doodle on Blue Sky, who I think said he like worked in chemistry in part of his career at some point. Explained it that organic in chemistry just means it contains carbon. Standard glass is silica based. Synthetic organic glass is man made and contains carbon, which makes sense.
Makes so much sense for that movie, especially.
Yeah, and Z the D US or Ztheed US. I'm not sure how you pronounce your name, your Spotify name. Sorry, but the Spotify comment also explained the same thing. But I mean, it's funny because with Dogra, it's all about carbon in that movie. So it's funny that then our confusion for a real life special effect was also based in not understanding how carbon is defined in chemistry.
Well, I like, I don't remember which one explained it this way, but I like that the person who was involved in chemistry was like, because I'm in that context, I forget the other definition of the word. And I think that's really all it comes down to is like, I never use the word organic that way, but like it is a way that word is used, like, so I just like didn't have the information or context to know what that meant. And so, I don't know. The things that I learned doing this podcast are, sometimes very Godzilla-y and sometimes just great life things.
That's such a good one. Yeah, because he said he was a synthetic chemistry technician, and he says how weird it is to like see the word organic used in just like a
for like groceries. Yeah,
and I'm like, that's got to be really annoying, man. It's
or like a more metaphorical way.
Or metaphorical way. Yeah. Like, wow, we almost sound like fucking idiots all the time, huh? Dang.
No, so we're just not scientists.
Sorry. That's why we're talking about science things on our podcast. Yeah. All right. Well, predictions.
Yeah.
There's not much left of these movies, so predictions are like harder and harder to do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a broader question because obviously we're going to have a separate predictions.
Okay.
Right before we do Terror of Mechagodzilla for what you think of that movie. I'm going to ask you a more general question since we only have Terror of Mechagodzilla and then the Heisei era Godzilla versus Destoroyah, and then in the Millennium era Godzilla Final Wars.
I only have finales left.
You only have those left. So I'm going to ask you generally, just because I think maybe it makes this a little bit harder, vaguer, or easier for you to come up with an answer. Do you think Mechagodzilla is going to show up again in anything else that we're going to watch? One of those is a gimme, but any of the movies you haven't seen yet.
Okay, so Showa, it's the title one, right? That's the gimme. I really don't know anything about the Heisei finale movie. I don't have a reason to think that Mechagodzilla would show up in that. I don't think. So I'll say no for that one. Final Wars, the only thing I know is like an accidental thing that has to do with like Hedorah. So like I don't know what the context for even that bit that I know is. But what I will say is in the Millennium era, if the finale is at all connected to the previous two movies, which do have a continuity with each other, then it would make sense for some kind of mecha thing to be involved. So I will say no for Heisei and yes for Millennium.
Okay. What about King Caesar?
Okay, King Caesar, I think because of what Showa feels like right now, with the exception of Gigan, it really kind of feels like here's Godzilla's tag team partner for the movie. So I'm not expecting to see King Caesar again because we only have one left. And I know this is not the question you asked, but I am expecting to see like a new tag team partner for the next show. I think that's like where we're at. So that's kind of like where my head is at, is like each movie's going to be, here's your new feature character.
Right.
I don't expect to see King Caesar in the other two eras.
Okay. What about Anguirus then?
Oh, that's a good question. Anguirus gets his revenge in Terror of Godzilla. I think that if we saw Anguirus again, it would be in Showa. I do not expect to see Anguirus in Heisei again, or Millennia. Well, Heisei, he hasn't shown up at all, I don't think, right?
No.
I wouldn't expect it now. And Millennium, it was in a movie that has nothing to do with any other movie, so I have no reason to think he'll show up in that either. So I'm going to say no across the board for any more Anguirus.
He wasn't in anything in Millennium either, was he?
Isn't he in GM? No, he's not. He's notably not in GMK. Actually,
You're like confusing me.
I
for
just
a second.
want
He
so badly
almost-
for him to
he
be in GMK because he was almost in GMK.
Almost was. Yeah.
And I've looked at the concept art. Right, that one even has concept art
Yep.
for Anguirus.
Okay,
I've looked
'cause it
at it
was gonna
so
be-
many times. I've accepted into my own brain that he was there. So I'm
You've,
gonna say
like,
no
just
across the
rewritten-
board.
It's like fuck Baragon. We're getting
Exactly.
Anguirus here.
Sorry, it's not your fault, Baragon. It has nothing to do with you. But I'll say no across the board for Anguirus. I think we've seen the last of Anguirus, sadly, unless we get him in, Shin 2 or whatever.
Yeah, and this is I don't know, maybe a curveball, but you might think it's a stupid question given where we're at. Since the next movie is Terror of Mechagodzilla, and I think it's sort of unusual. Like no other movie in the Showa era is like the same monster in the title 2 times in a row. Do you think any of these other characters are going to appear in the next movie, or is it still going to do the Showa thing of a new cast?
I don't think any of the characters are necessarily going to show up again. I would expect to see our cast of actors that have been around the whole time.
Sure.
I wouldn't even expect to see like our young hot people to show up again because that's not really where we're at.
Right.
I would expect. I feel like Terror of Mechagodzilla, the fact that it's named Terror of Mechagodzilla, I would expect there to be elements that carry over beyond just Mechagodzilla. So, like, wouldn't be surprised to see the aliens again.
Sure.
Revenge plot.
Revenge plot, yeah. Godzilla's Revenge. Oh, wait, that's another movie. Okay, talk about curveballs. The next movie we're doing is Gorath. A movie from 1962.
Yeah.
What do you know about Gorath?
Nothing. I haven't even accidentally looked up Gorath. I haven't even I haven't even looked to see like where I will watch it and have accidentally seen a nothing. I know nothing about Gorath. Gorath to me sounds like the name of like prehistoric man protagonist, like some sort of like caveman type thing. I don't think that's what it is, but that's what it sounds like to me.
What do you think what do you think Gorath could be or could be about?
Am I allowed to ask what year Gorath came out?
1962.
I would guess that Gorath is just like, it's just, I don't know specifically what, but I'm guessing it is a monster that has its own movie. It is the primary problem that needs to be solved. In the way that like a Rodan or a Varen are. But I have no clue what type of monster Gorath would be. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't say anything to me. Maybe gorilla. Maybe that's where I'm getting like caveman from, but Kong exists.
Sure.
So I don't think it's going to be a gorilla.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Gorath.
Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea why we're watching it?
Well, it's got to show up in one of the finales, right? Like, or something does. If Gorath doesn't, something in the movie Gorath. And what's funny is it could be like one time we watched a movie because the maser cannons were introduced. So like it literally could be technology that shows up in Terror of Mechagodzilla. It could literally be something that shows up in either of the other 2 finales, like just as a piece of technology or flashback. So like,
to be fair,
generally,
we didn't just introduce it.
We did not
the maser
just.
cannons.
That's right.
It was also
That's
because
true.
Gyra shows up in a flashback.
I would argue that the maser cannons are actually the more important like piece of continuity, though.
Oh, for sure. That further
But we
justified
wouldn't watch one
including
just
it.
for technology. I don't think.
Yeah. Although
So-
I guess we could. I didn't include that. I think it just kind of worked out because I don't think that there would have been I don't think that would have disqualified anything.
Sure,
anything.
sure.
Or I don't think there's anything that we did include that we should have.
Yeah.
If we were basing it on technology, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you can say that we do just and pretend that we're smarter.
Well, I mean, it's still like a general answer of like, well, something's going to be in one of the other 3 movies we have to watch. So I guess I'll say that it's I'm going to say it's a vehicle. I'm going to say a vehicle shows up of some kind in Gorath that becomes important in one of the era finales.
I love the way that you're thinking at this point in the podcast. It's just like, who gives a fuck, man? I don't know.
what-
It's a car. Maybe
it's
it's always
funny-
a car.
It's funny because the deeper I've gotten into each era, the harder it is to predict. I was thinking about this the other day, and it was way easier for me to predict things based on the beginning of an era, because the beginning of an era, especially a reboot era, is where you like decide what you want to say for the generation of the movie, right? So predicting what themes were going to be in the first couple Heisei movies, easy. Predicting what the theme was for the first millennium, easy. once you're like established and have a world, like anything could
Right.
fucking happen. I have no idea.
Especially with Godzilla movies. And I
It's
think
like the more I know, the harder it is to predict.
and I think it's funny because I know that sometimes you've gotten certain things like spoiled for you occasionally, and I know that there's been some people who have been like bummed about that, or sort of like, God damn it, I wish you like didn't know this. But I don't know that it's ever helped you. I feel like it's only maybe confused you more, honestly, when
Well,
you
it's funny
hear
'cause, like-
random spoilers for future movies.
Well, yeah, and I'll talk about this more when we get to one of the specific era finales. But like one of the very specific details I have, all it's done is made me think for months now about how to justify that character being there. So I'm gonna be wildly wrong. Like, I just have no idea how to navigate knowing everything. The worlds only get bigger. The worlds only expand.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well. Yeah. We're getting close to the end though, man. We just only have finales left. That's really going to be our next run.
It's weird.
Our after we get through Gorath, it's only end Godzilla movies, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. But we got one more non-Godzilla movie to get to before we get to that
Hell
stretch. Yeah. And if you are going to be at Kaiju Brooklyn this weekend, if you're listening today, it drops.
Yeah.
Doug and I are both going to be there. We're going to be hanging out.
Both of
Yeah.
us. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, we're not doing events. We're literally just there to hang. So it's not
Just
a
to
big
meet
con.
people, say
So
hey.
it probably won't be hard to find us. Also, if you've listened to our Zone Fighter episode or Space Amoeba, Chris Cummins, who's been our guest on that and on many podcasts we do together, and also my boyfriend, we're all going to be there together. So you can meet him too if you want. But yeah, feel free to say hi. We'd love
Please
to
do say hi.
meet people in person. I know it can be like weird and intimidating. You don't know if you're going to be annoying. You won't be annoying. We'll think it's delightful if you know who we are, and especially if we don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself. We'd love to meet you. I'm excited to go. It's a really fun con.
Yeah.
Doug, until then, if people want to find you and everything you're doing, where's the best place to do that?
You can find me all over the place at Ickybooly, ICKYBOOLEY. You can also find me on a bunch of podcasts, many that I do with Derek. We have Walloping Web Snappers, which is a weekly Spider-Man cartoon deep dive podcast. Obviously, this one. We have Falling with Style, which was sort of the precursor or predecessor to this one, where we watched all of the Pixar movies, and we'll be back to talk about Toy Story 5 very soon here. And I am on a podcast called Novel Gaming with my friend Katie, where we catch up on all the books, video games, and sometimes other media we've been enjoying lately. And Derek actually just showed up recently recommending a kaiju centered game to us that we then played and talked about, Terror of Hemosaurus, which was very cool.
Yes, a great game. You should listen to that episode. I think we have a nice time talking about that, the politics of it. You can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. My other podcasts, other than what Doug mentioned that we do together, would be Gimmicks, where David and I look at high concept experimental episodes of television, and Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we look at the Simpsons tie-in video games. In that case, similar to Skrionk, we're kind of close to the end of our journey. We've already finished all of the console games for The Simpsons. So all the ones that I'm sure you've heard of, we have episodes on those out. You should listen to that backlog. We're now exploring some weird swerves like mobile games and things like that, which I'm like both excited about and not excited about. So
has there ever been a Simpsons card game, like a trading card game?
Oh God.
Not that would be under like within your purview, but it made me think about it as far as like weird Simpsons game polls,
A really good question. I don't know.
Answer for a totally different podcast.
Yeah, I'll ask Tommy about it, because if there is, we can probably do some kind of episode on it or something, or bonus episode. But yeah, I think our latest episode of both Gimmicks and Lee Carvalho are out the same day that this episode drops. Oh wow! So you got lots to hear from me. Hefty Wednesday. If you'd like to find other queer creators who talk about media, check out the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective at glitterjaw.com, and follow Glitterjaw on Blue Sky at Glitterjaw and Instagram at GlitterjawPods. Speaking of Glitterjaw, you would have heard an ad at the beginning of this, but there is a listener survey out that Glitterjaw as a whole collective is doing. It is due in just a few days. If you're listening to this on the day it drops, I think you literally have like maybe 4 days to finish it, because the survey closes on May 31st. And if you take that survey before it closes, you can actually be entered in to win a $50 gift card. So you should do it. But also, it's just your feedback will help us better plan for the future of Glitterjaw and what we can do for you as listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Join our Patreon at patreon.com/wallopingwebsnappers. That's, of course, the name of the Spider-Man podcast Doug and I do together, but it does support everything, including Skryonk. And we do have Skryonk bonus episodes that we've done on there. We recently did an episode on Zone Fighter, which we mentioned in this episode. We have covered all of Monarch that is out. And we've done some other related movies, like we mentioned Matango. We've done an episode of Matango and things like that as well. So absolutely check us out. Support us for as little as $1 a month. You can check out our Discord if you want to chat with us and any listeners. There's a link to that in the show notes. You can email us at skryonk.podcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all your podcast platforms. And join us on June 13th for Ishiro Honda's sci-fi film 1962's Gorath.
The way that you specifically said sci-fi film makes me feel like I'm so off. Can't wait to find out.
See ya. That was intentional. Bye.
帳が消える朝が来たら眠りから覚めてほしいの